can I help you, sir?
My name is Zhon Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, and I am an alien.
The alien is in deep lockdown in sublevel 7 and will remain there until further notice. Here's a list of questions. We need him to answer them.
I turned around and he was gone.
So he escaped. And then he came back. Zhon is being difficult. He will not give us the answers we want. The alien will only be interviewed by her.
Join us Friday for another Abella Talk Show. Ciao.
Hi, I'm Zhon Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
Great. I'm Amanda. I'll be interviewing you.
You're just going to have to trust me.
He tells the most ridiculous stories you've ever heard.
You lost a servant boy?
So you invented beatbox?
That's why all the girls want to be in my ride.
Funny how you always seem to be just in the right place at the right time.
I guess that's what happens when you're 2,642 years old.
Run! Run! Rome is on fire!
Okay, David. This is a big story. The biggest, get it?
It's gonna take a while to get to the juicy stuff.
Answer, John, not stories!
You're supposed to be an investigative reporter, and you're buying into this crap.
He was in Rome 2,000 years ago.
Hey, who threw that?
What had happened was...
Hey, come back here!
I don't want what did or didn't happen last night to affect anything going on here.
Well, what were you doing on a date with Amanda Bella?
I kissed her.
I really do apologize for...
So what happens if he doesn't talk?
Remember, you are replaceable. Get me Agent Myers.
Bamboo under the fingernails.
Do you know what this is?
Hey, are you listening to me? John, you don't want to do this.
It's time you knew the truth. If it leaks, it's not only your ass.
Mindy?
I need to get out of here. There is truth to all my stories.
Hello and welcome to another night of bad audio here on the end of television. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but it seems to be coming out a little better. Test, that's better. Is that loud enough? Yeah, I think so. Hello and welcome to the show. I don't know why it's a close-up of me all of a sudden, but I guess I have a cameraman now, so that's kind of nice, 'cause, you know, volunteers. Well, hello and welcome to the show once again. This might be the last show for a while because there's a lottery coming up, and I may or may not get a live slot, but that's okay. I've been doing this 13 years straight. A few months off can only help. Can only be a nice hiatus break. But for tonight, for a great final episode for a while, because I have a pretty good feeling we're not coming back for at least 6 months. It's the Zhon episode. See, even I'm saying it right now because I've seen the show, and hopefully you've seen it by now too. Although that's spoiler for episode 2 when they get into the pronunciation of the name. But tonight we have several of the cast of the program tonight. Let's pan on over, shall we? To my immediate right, we have Alida Gunn, who plays Amanda Bella on the program. Hi, glad you could make it. Sorry, I've been in my own world for the past 20 minutes, but Eric can testify that I usually just have to save it all up for the air. And then we have Robert Linden, who is playing the lead character, Zhon. Yes, and here's Johnny. And on the end, it's Eric Schumacher, who has been a guest on the program. I can't even count how many times anymore, a few times, but it's always good to have you back, because when I run out of stuff to say, you can always point it on Eric, and I can get up and walk away, and he can do the rest of the hour if we need to.
Yeah,
so.
I'm rarely at a loss for words.
We appreciate that down here, because a lot of times I have nothing left to say. So, whoiszhon.com. I put the website up last episode, and hopefully you all have been clicking away like mad. I know I have.
Whoiszhon.com.
Yes, that's right. Did I say it wrong again?
Yeah.
I've been saying it wrong
What's
for
going
so
on here?
long that it's gonna take some practice to get it right. Who is Zhon? And if you want to know, watch. It's a yeah. Well, that's the quick and easy answer. But but it's time you knew the truth. And the truth will come out. Unlike on shows like X-Files and Lost, where they tease you with all this stuff and they never really give you answers. We give you answers on this program. So, not the show that you're watching tonight. This show doesn't answer anything. But whoiszhon.com with I want to call it Chronicles of Zhon still, but it's just called Zhon, the Alien Interviews, and you will hear me pronounce that probably at least 5 different ways tonight before I'm done. So, Eric, how did this show start? What was the genesis of this program?
Well, the genesis of the show, Rob and I were sitting. We were sitting around basically talking about, to make a long story short, how to move our acting careers forward, and we realized that with a combination of skills we had, we might be able to start producing some things that could do well, and in the process create exposure and eventually even revenue for lots of other people. To do our part to help boost our local film industry, and so we did a lot of brainstorming about what concepts we should use. We were originally going to do a feature film, which we will eventually do, but we had a whole bunch of different ideas, and I remember I specifically went away on a vacation with my wife and brainstormed a whole bunch of ideas and came back with this gigantic list of really awesome, excellent ideas, and then Rob and I were sitting around talking about which one we should do first, and Rob, as he usually does in a creative session, said, well, hey, what if we did something like, and well, that's basically what this show became, was that what started with what if we did something like. And so shortly thereafter, we started developing the concept and having meetings to work on the basic storyline. And then not too long after that, we contacted you.
Yeah. It was a moment in history.
Yeah.
You can't forget.
And you and Cliff Campbell of Pondo Enterprises and us were on the phone for late at night for months and 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 months, and wrote a bunch of scripts, and then we shot them. That's the short version.
That's the short version.
Actually,
that's the version
3
I
years
know.
later, after an ungodly amount of work and sacrifice, we ended up with a very some incredible contributions from around 50 different people involved in the show. A core cast and crew of, I think, about 12, 13 people, but basically, tons and tons of work from some amazing people. Here's the show.
I can't think of any other local production that's involved virtually everybody who's active in town, all in one project.
I think we had the whole town.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, everybody.
There's still quite a few people who were involved who are very good at what they do, but it was a matter of vetting. This was a huge commitment. It was a long time. I mean, the shooting process alone was a solid year, nights and weekends.
Yeah.
And 3 years total time. So it was a matter of the combination of, the time availability, personality, making sure that people could click with everybody else, and of course skill sets, hugely important, and and understanding what we were trying to accomplish. Looking for people who could understand it, had the time to all the other factors in place, and then could just give it their all, really understand what we were trying to accomplish and how important it could be. And the combination of those four were the folks we ended up with, and, well, I think they did a pretty damn good job.
Yeah. So you saw the trailer out there, but why don't you let the audience know a little bit more about what the show itself is about?
All right, Rob, do you want to field that one?
Well, show is about. Pretty much the show is about a guy. There's an alien. A guy who claims, or is he? Yeah, the guy who claims to be an extraterrestrial turns himself into the Secret Service and says, "Hey, I'm an extraterrestrial and I want to tell you stuff," but they're not buying it for a moment. But then he does a few parlor tricks and bam, they're sold. So pretty much.
He's a very good magician.
I'm a very good magician.
Or is he?
Or am I? But yeah, pretty much. In the story, he's trying to tell what he knows, but only way he's gonna talk to the Secret Service is if he gets interviewed by a certain person named Amanda Bella, who is sitting next to me, who's Alida Gunn, and in the story, she's like a big talk show host, almost like equivalent to Oprah Winfrey. I want to say maybe better. I don't know.
No, the subject matter seemed more Ricky Lake-ish.
Yeah, maybe Ricky Lake-ish.
A little. I'm gonna agree with that.
But it's a fun show to watch, and if you're into sci-fi, which I think mostly the majority of everybody is, you need to watch this. Check this out. It's a great thing. I mean, on a Friday night, look at it, not because you're bored, but because you want to. Okay, so.
It is lots of fun.
Yeah. What do you have to? Anything you want to add to this?
Anything I want to add to that? No, I think you gave a really good description. Yeah.
Well, tell us about your character.
Well, I love that Ricky Lake reference. Definitely, I'd say I'm very Ricky Lake-esque.
I like me.
I like me. Amanda's sort of a powerhouse, or at least she believes that she's a powerhouse. And she's created this persona and this talk show host. And I think what's fun is as the series progresses, she actually figures out who she is. She's been playing this talk show host for so long that it has become her, more than perhaps it really is. She is grabbed by the government and told, this is your duty, you need to come and do this, and she drops her whole life and she goes underground, and this becomes her life for a while.
I take it her shows in repeats at the time.
Must be, yeah.
We never go too far into detail of what's going on there.
Yeah, I think so. I think it must go into repeats, into reruns.
It would have to, doing the job that she did, interviewing this guy.
It's like jury duty.
Yeah.
Like you were saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Better call into work for about a month or two. Yeah.
And she's definitely a little resentful. Definitely a little resentful.
I don't know. Is that towards John or
the world?
The world. Okay.
The world.
It's just the world. Nobody important, just the world.
She's not that angsty. Yeah, it's so this show has a lot of intrigue and mystery, and we're trying to figure out from the first episode.
There's a lot of clues. In there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, is this guy an alien or an experiment, or what is he? How does he have these powers? Is he telling the truth about anything throughout the entire series? And there's going to be lots of points where we think we've figured him out, and then it gets squirrely again. Why will he only talk to Amanda Bella? What is he doing here? Why did he turn himself into the Secret Service? I mean, who does that? And why would someone who claims to be an alien do that? So as the series progresses, we'll get deeper and deeper into the mystery. There's action, there's drama, there's love triangles, there's all sorts of exciting plot elements. And to speak to what Alida was saying, one of my favorite parts of the show, and something that when we were in the writing process we worked very hard on, was to make sure that there was real character growth.
Oh, yeah.
These are not stick figures or caricatures. And I guarantee you, when you watch episode 1, when you finally get through the last episode of the series, which will be episode 22,
you will be bawling your eyes out.
Well, we hope so. And
I don't know if we want anybody to cry.
And laughing a whole lot, I hope.
Yes. Heartstrings, because you care about these characters so much.
And the show, things will change in ways that we hope you won't have expected, but that you will enjoy. We think it's a great ride.
Yeah. I've already just from the first episode alone, well, I saw the first 4, but let's pretend I only saw the first one. I like how you get a good sense of who everybody is right away within the first, what was that, 17 minutes, that first one?
Yeah,
First episode,
I didn't
17.
even realize it had run that long. I thought it was 10 because it just goes by at such a good
it does.
pace.
It sure does. Even I didn't realize it was 17 minutes.
I really
Really?
like the sound effects, too.
I did it all with my mouth.
Oh,
Yeah. The whole...
You should talk. You should talk about the music.
Yeah,
The
it's
music,
pretty amazing.
It just fills it out
There's
so
a couple
much.
of things. First off, the post-production was done, basically a team of 2 did our editing, which Terrell Good sort of managed the process. He was the co-director of the series with Alan Williams. Chris Valentine is an astoundingly good editor, and he really did the work on editing this series, on breaking it down and turning it into what it has become. We gave him the footage, we gave him the storyline, we gave him lots of direction, but ultimately he molded this thing into what you see, and also did the sound design for the show. Now, Peter Goritz, who's a fantastic local composer, did all of the management of the music process, wrote the theme song, wrote all of the major themes for the show, composed everything, and then, of course, worked with Terrell and Chris to make sure that everything was placed properly in the show. So we have truly exceptional original music in this show. Additionally, we have musicians from across the United States who have contributed pieces of music to the show, and we have, and if you look on our webpage, you'll see profiles for all of them, so you can't miss who it was who contributed. Some absolutely amazing, amazing independent musicians who we really wanted people to know about, and so part of Peter's process is to, I'll go through and say, okay, here's one of the musicians, find a place for him. And he'll go, what am I going to do with a reggae band in a show like this? And he'll find a place, and it works. It works beautifully. And I mean, we're giving him great musicians, but a huge variety of different styles, and he's managed to find brilliant ways of integrating them into the show. Sometimes it's in the closing credits,
Yeah, I've noticed
and you'll notice that
different
I
closing
actually
credits.
told Peter I do not want a closing theme song. What we want is a place for our guest musicians, so that we end it with the right attitude for each episode, and that's and then sometimes you'll catch some of our guest musicians' music in different parts of the show as well. So the music is one of I think our favorite parts of the show. It's just so good. One thing particular, the theme song for the show. How many versions do we have of that, Rob?
We have. I don't know how many I can count. I don't know. A lot.
Yeah. We
went through a lot of them, because we heard one, we're like, no. Second one, third one, well, and then just kept going in that process, and finally Peter sent us something. He's like, okay, I've been playing with it. Let me see what you think, and then it hit, and we're like, oh man, bam, that's right there.
Basically, the primary guidance that we gave him was, we want something that is really catchy. That you'll just hum over and over again. That's a good theme song, and it needs to be big because it's a big.
I've been
series.
humming it for days now. Yeah,
Good.
for days.
You're welcome. And actually, when he nailed it, because he gave us lots of really good stuff, mind you, it just wasn't quite it yet. When he nailed it, he was trying to find the thing that was going to please us, and then he said, "Okay, look, I just tried something here, and it's just something that I like. So tell us what you think." And it was like, bam, that's the puppy.
Yeah, there's. I specifically wanted in there like hip hop stuff,
sort of a techno
just
sound,
a techno hip hop stuff in there, and he had no problem with it. So I think that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy the theme music, because I can actually hear the hip hop techno stuff in there, and I'm just like, that's great. It has almost like a Western.
A lot of people have
to
said that, and actually what he was going for there was a style called surf rock, which was popular in like the 1960s, and you'll hear a lot in 60s and 50s and 60s spy shows. It's kind of very similar to the sound of, if you've ever heard the theme song for the British Secret Service show called Secret Agent Man. It's got a very similar tone to that. So he's kind of managed to somehow blend like this techno hip-hop sound with surf rock, and it just totally works.
We love it. I'm sure Alida loves it, because she's been humming it, so.
It gets in your head and stays there.
Over and over and over. No, it's great. It's great.
I'm humming it right now. It's a great intro. I never realized the Forrest Gump element of the program until seeing it. And then it's like, you know what? That's right, because he's kind of affects history in the different ways. You know, he just happened to be there at the right time. But I also see kind of a quantum leap element in there as well, a little bit.
Well, and actually, one of the aspects of the show that we particularly like is that throughout the series, Zhon is telling Agent Killjoy, which is a character I play, and Amanda and Mindy, stories. And, you know, what they're trying to get out of him is, you know, who are you? What are you doing here? What do you want? You know, tell us about your planet. Tell us about technology. You know, give us stuff governments want, right? And he keeps telling them stories about history, and they don't sound like it's pretty unlikely that they're true, but maybe they are. I mean, they're pretty goofy. They're pretty goofy.
Yeah, they're like, this is crazy.
And so one of the things we're particularly proud of in terms of the production values is, as he tells a story in history, we go back there and we actually see the story in history. So we've visited Old England in the 1700s, ancient Rome, Chicago in the 1970s. We've visited, what else did we do? China, Vietnam during the war, all sorts of, you know, so we've popped back and forth through history, and that was challenging stuff to pull off, but we got some really great scenes. And
I would think that would be kind of expensive.
It could be.
Well, and they're very nicely mixed with a nice balance of humor, which makes them really fun to play with. And back to that idea of what is truth? How much of this is true? How much of it isn't? Is what he's saying. How close is it to the real truth? Which is very fun.
Yeah,
it was very fun for us too.
Yeah, I think the audience watches this, they'll get annoyed with Zhon. I mean, that's a kind of like a small goal of mine, because, you know, like, what are you doing here? We'll see, you know, and then tells a story about the history, and they're like, I don't want to know that answer. Tell me the truth. You know, that's kind of, like I said, a small goal of mine. I want to annoy the audience, but at the same time, be from the
already annoyed us.
Yeah, I think I annoyed my cast, my friends here during the shooting of it.
No, never.
Just with the stories I told in the script that Marty wrote. So
it's just as he starts to drive you completely crazy, then answers start.
The answers start
out.
popping out. Yeah.
We should add. I'd like to add that. Well, you know, if you watch, the show is funny, and we had we did a screening for we did a screening of just the trailer for somebody not too long ago, and afterwards they said, well, you know, is it okay to laugh? Yeah, it's funny. Okay, good, because I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be funny, you know. And yeah, I mean, it's a very quirky. I mean, a lot of people have had trouble actually exactly defining it. If you're a sci-fi fan, you know this type of show. I mean, you've seen the, like, NBC's Chuck and all those kinds of shows where there's this sort of this balance between humor and drama, and that's what we were going for. But especially in the first few episodes, there's a lot of very, very funny stuff. As the series goes on, of course, and as we learn more about what Zhon is really doing here, we get a little bit more serious.
Yeah, they all start to become more real with each other. But in the beginning, there's this real cartoony kind of
exactly
the honeymoon period.
And I've got to add, though, from the standpoint of somebody who's an actor and a director and a producer, particularly about the middle of the series, these two guys in particular give some absolutely fantastic performances. Really, there's a particular episode. Just keep your eyes out for episode 13. Where you know you won't even believe you're watching the same show. There's some really seriously wonderful drama, and it was really a pleasure and an honor to be involved in those moments. You know, which you get the opportunity to do rarely as an actor.
I think episode 13. I think that for me that was almost a challenging episode to shoot. I don't know if it was for Alida here, but for me it was just like, okay, here we go. Let's see if we can pull this off together without laughing. And I mean, it was a great episode to shoot, but like Eric was saying, just keep your eye out for it. You know, it's kind of like that left turn in the series. You know, we're going like, ha, bam. You know, you know. So.
Well, I don't remember exactly what number is which at this point.
No spoilers, no spoilers.
But I think what was really fun is that it was such a really wonderful professional set. You know, that we worked really hard, we worked long hours, we worked together, and that is what I appreciated. So whether it was challenging or whether it was funny or whatever we were doing, we were working with each other. We were playing off of each other, and that doesn't always happen, and that's what I appreciated.
If I could add something to that. This series was really, really difficult to pull off.
He's not exaggerating. Well, maybe a little bit.
No, not at all. It was
it was really
hard.
Yeah,
it was hard. It was first off.
How long is it? 3.5
the total series is 4 hours.
Yeah, to give the
we
audience
shot
an idea.
50 hours of footage,
which is actually very economical for such a long.
Yeah, we had great people working on this, and there were lots of good planning, lots of good strategy in the implementation process. We were very careful to keep a very good set culture. That was one of the reasons that we went through such a careful process in picking our crew, particularly.
I think that's one of the reasons why it was finished. That it is not just sitting on some shelf somewhere. That it actually.
We tried to apply best business practices to everything from the initial concept, the marketing plan, and the implementation process throughout, and really try to apply good corporate practices to independent film, which is a goal for everything else that's coming in the future as well. But this particular show, we have to, there was no investor funding for this. This was self-funded on credit cards. It was, we were using every indie trick we had. We were able to get a lot of great support from a lot of local businesses who allows us to shoot at their location or gave us one kind of support or another. None of it financial. But, for example, you'll see scenes in the primary location for the series, the interrogation room, where that we were... The space was donated to us for 3 months, which was an incredibly wonderful thing to do. But yes, we had there was a little bit of a pigeon problem. There were pigeons on the roof, and they had one of those fake hawks on the roof that every time it sensed movement, it goes. So the pigeons thought that was funny. So about every 25 minutes while we were shooting, and mind you, there was no air conditioning, so when it was in the summer, it was hot. When it was in the winter, it was cold. You just dealt with it, right? And about every 25 minutes, the pigeons would decide it's time to move. So they'd go, and then the fake hawk would go 4 or 5 minutes. And Thomas Castillo, our brilliant director of photography, took a practice. He just got into a routine where he'd just stop whatever we were doing, cut. He'd grab a big rock, he'd throw it at the roof, and the pigeons would shut up for a little while, and we'd go back to work.
Yeah, for about 20 minutes, and then we'd do it all over again.
But truly, this was the kind of thing, we probably could have had this entire series shot in 3 months. It took a year. Yeah. And the reason it took a year was nights, weekends, and things like that. You didn't have a studio. And pigeons.
Let's talk about the auditioning process and why.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The other reason why it took so long. Okay, Eric and I held auditions, I think, 4 days maybe? 4-day auditions. And, I mean, we found our characters, the Amanda and Mindy characters, which are cool. And, gave them the good news and whatnot. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere.
And they just weren't able to do the roles, basically.
Yeah, they weren't able to do the roles, so we're like, oh, great.
It's too big a time commitment.
Yeah.
Just for them particularly. So.
Yeah, and so that was kind of like a stressor right there. And so, but Eric mentioned
I want to tell this story. Actually, when we originally came up with the concept for the character of Amanda Bella, there were 2 actresses that I'd worked with who immediately popped into my head, and one of them was Alida. And Alida, at the time that we were holding the auditions, manages, does a lot of directing and management for Borderlands Theater Company. Exactly that weekend, she was holding auditions behind the table herself, so she couldn't come. And so I actually went down to her office and auditioned her. She had 0 preparation. We were in a dark room. There was, it was a terrible circumstance to do the audition. So we cast others. That didn't work out. And right afterwards, Rob and I said, well, I said, look, how about Alida? I mean, you know, she's an excellent actress. She's perfect for the role. And we wanted to make absolutely 100% totally sure that we had exactly the right people in, especially the key 4 roles. We were in the first 2 roles, and that wasn't going to change because we were producing. But, you know, our Amanda and our Mindy character were absolutely critical. There had to be the right chemistry. And
I remember it was difficult. There was not very many people showing up for the audition.
Which was surprising. We did have some other very strong candidates, but none of them were just quite right. And Alida, we made Alida audition 3 times.
Yes.
Just to be super sure. And it was
and the chemistry is important.
It was, but it was really clear. Actually, the second time was also not an ideal circumstance for audition. We auditioned Alida in an IHOP across the table from us.
And
we stuck a camera in her face and said, audition.
IHOP.
So that wasn't exactly the best environment for that. So the third one, we actually had a space which was actually donated by the Church of the Beloved in Christ here in town. It was kind enough to give us that space. And it was a more traditional, formal audition where she actually had prep time and so on. And after that audition, there was no question in anybody's minds that she was Amanda Bella.
I think...
And the hunt for Mindy continued even longer.
I think the audition at IHOP was actually what gave us the chemistry.
Well, that was true. There was real serious chemistry.
The chemistry there was, I mean, at that moment, I was like, she's the part. She's Amanda. We need her. But we had to audition her again. So I didn't feel we needed to after the IHOP. But it was a lot of fun. Oh, you know, over pancakes.
They did feed me. They did feed me.
We did feed her. Yeah. So
gave her a crust of bread and some water.
Wasn't that bad? Yeah. It was good bread though.
Well, meanwhile, I had read the script, and I'm not a terribly voracious actress. I'm sort of a more zen actress, and when something feels right and it falls in your lap, But I read the script and I thought, this is me. This is my part. This is who I am. So meanwhile, I was on the phone to Eric and several times saying, so when can we get together? When are we going to read this?
The exact line was, I told her, you know, that second audition was great. We just need one more set of auditions to make absolutely sure. She said, okay. And then she called me back a couple of days later and said, Eric, what do I have to do to get this role? I want it. And okay, come on down for that third audition. Let's see how it goes. And just blew it out of the water. Totally was Amanda. There's no question in anybody's minds. The Mindy hunt. Now that was interesting. We actually took a long time to recast that. We did cast another very good actress by the name of Christina Moser, and unfortunately, after we'd been shooting for a while, you know, again, this was nights and weekends. Everybody else had other commitments. Something changed in her schedule in her life, and it just was not going to be possible for her to commit to weekends anymore. So we unfortunately had to let her go after we'd shot some stuff with her. And how we got our Mindy, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, we were at this point, we were scheduled to finally shoot the scene where we first meet Amanda and Mindy. We had actually shot some other stuff first, and that was going to happen on a Saturday. This young woman by the name of Michelle Holland, who I'd worked with before on the stage a couple of times, and it was, you know, very, very good, very, very solid actress, and certainly looked the part. Was unable to come to the original auditions because of a day job conflict. So I called her, I spoke to Rob about it and said, look, you know, we're in a crunch here. I know this girl, and we are shooting. We are in production. Well, that's right. You had worked with her before, too. I'm sorry about that. She worked with me on a martial arts movie called Deuce Bounty. I'm sorry about that. I'd totally forgotten about that. So we both knew her.
And
she was a known quantity. Yeah, that's right. So I'm forgetting myself. What I'm particularly thinking of is was you know, some experiences I'd had working with her before, where she had just shown extreme in a play that I was working with her, where she just showed extreme dedication to a role, and it was wonderful. But yes, that's right. We had both. I'm sorry, had worked with her before. Anyway, long story short, I gave her a call, and we met her down at the IHOP, and it was I think a Thursday night before we were going, the Thursday before we were going to shoot.
It's those busy lives. Yeah. When can you both get together?
Exactly.
Oh, at about
it was like
11 p.m.
I think it was about 11 o'clock, and it was somewhere around 11:30. She said she would take the role, and I believe it was 2 days later on Saturday that she showed up on the set, immediately bonded with Alida. Mm-hmm. They were just like, bam, they're Amanda and Mindy.
This is meant to happen
and
that way.
knocked it out of the park on her first day, and it was just just one of those things where it happened as it was supposed to, as difficult and challenging as it was for everybody, and yeah, exactly. Good old George Papard.
Yeah, it was like we had been old friends. Yeah,
that was really something to see too. It was, as we had the different sets of Amanda and Mindy, it was just watching the difference in chemistry, because there was something very special, particularly between you and Michelle. I had this feeling, because I'm obviously I play a part in the show too, and speaking just from my experience, when you guys walked into the interrogation room, you're in character. So I wasn't me at that moment. I was David Killjoy, and so you're walking into the interrogation room, and I was completely taken aback. Who the hell are these people who are acting like they own my interrogation room? That was exactly what was going through my mind, and it was beautiful, absolutely perfect, exactly what it should have been.
I think at that moment,
these prima donnas,
Michelle and I had known each other about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We had known each other about 10 minutes at that moment. Because of circumstances, we walked in the space together, we powdered our noses, and then we went on. And there's sometimes, and as I'm sure many of you know, the theater arts community here is not huge, so you tend to work with a lot of actors that you've worked with before. And Michelle and I had never met, which was very unusual, and just something about the two of us. We just immediately was like, yeah. Very fortunate. That was lovely.
Maintained a pretty strong and you've maintained a pretty strong friendship since then, too.
Yes, yeah. It's been very lovely.
I think the chemistry between all four of us was just amazing.
No,
I don't like her at all.
I also, I think one of my personally favorite things about the show was just the opportunities I had as an actor to work with each of our cast members. And it was, I have to say, it was particularly a gas to have some scenes with Rob where we were. Well, you'll see in the show. Watch the after the big dance sequence in episode 4. Watch the scene between Rob and I. There was some really nice magic there, I thought, and lots of really wonderful moments in the series where you after running around nearly killing yourselves to get the everything ready to shoot, you get to just be the character, and some really beautiful moments happen quite frequently on this set.
And your being tired on the set actually helped with your acting.
Oh, for me, yeah, as a character, David is very uptight, to say the least. He's he carries the weight of the world on his shoulders. He's trying to appease his boss, who's also his dad. He's trying to be a tough guy, and he's and he's tired a lot because he's trying to he's losing sleep over this whole Zhon thing, as his whole career is on the line. And over the course of the series, there were many occasions personally where I was so damn exhausted that I could barely keep my eyes open. But that did actually really work, because David was exhausted and cranky, and I was exhausted and cranky. So I just used that, and and what was great about it was I could play exhausted and cranky as David, and then when I had to go back into producer mode, I was all cheery because I'd gotten exhausted and cranky out of my system. So, but I was really about to fall. There was one. I've told this story before, but there was one scene in particular where I worked crazy long hours getting everything prepped, and we shot this scene. I remember I was across the table from Rob, who was playing Zhon, and I think you were over on my right-hand side like usual, and I was standing up, and I don't remember what exactly the scene was. I just remember that Terrell, who was directing that day, yelled, "Action," and I woke up. And then he yelled, "Cut," and then a little while later he yelled, "Action" again. I was like, where am I? What am I doing? Right, got it, know the scene. And I'd woken up. I'd fallen asleep again, and I did that about 3 times in that scene where I fell asleep in between takes.
These takes are used in the final.
And those takes are used. I mean, you don't see me fall asleep, hopefully, but the actual takes after I woke up were used, and I don't think you can tell the difference. So
I think I think we all had our share of our moments on.
There were definitely.
on set. I know there was a particular time. I don't know if Eric or Alida remember this, but we were shooting the scene, and during the scene, I'm diabetic, and so during the scene, my blood sugar dropped low, and so I'm still trying to maintain the character. I'm just like, okay, yeah, let's do this. Okay, and I'm gonna yell cut. I was like, I need some sugar. So my blood sugar was really low.
I do remember that day.
Yeah.
Yes, you were getting glassy-eyed,
Yeah.
and I'm looking across the table, and you're
I was
getting
like,
more
"Who are you?"
glassy-eyed and more glassy-eyed until finally you start to sink a little to the chair.
Uh-oh. That's not supposed to be you falling out of the chair.
Yeah,
That's
like I kind of
Yeah.
broke character when my blood sugar broke. So
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
long.
Do you have a particular moment do you remember happening to you?
Well, I won't give away too much, but I'm usually the danger-prone person on a set, and what was really wonderful about Michelle is she's more danger-prone. So we had several really wonderful accidents, and I think my favorite, and I'll tell this one because we've already aired the first episode, is when you slam your head down on the table. Over and over again, and we had glasses on the table, and the glasses would jump just a little bit, and on this particular thunk, the glasses would jump and ka-chung, and they all knocked each other over, and they were glass, and they broke everywhere, and Michelle had to take off her shoes at that moment because they needed her to be a little bit shorter in the shot, and I remember someone yelled at her something like, "Don't walk, it's..." And it was too late. The glass, yes, and Michelle was bleeding all over the set, and and we were all running around looking to fix and repair, and that was a great day. It was a great day.
Had to run out and get some more cups.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cups, more, yeah. We used plastic cups from that day.
After that.
Forward, yeah.
That was wise.
Yeah.
One thing, by the way, just rolling back to the historical scenes, I just want to do one quick call out. The historical segments would not have been possible had it not been for the literal, I think, magic powers of Gabriel Andres, one of our associate producers, who came on to the show a little bit later and basically helped us to find all these different locations that we could not have believed existed. Yeah, I mean, I told her I need something that looks like Southeast Asia. One phone call, she got us Southeast Asia, and free food. I don't know. I mean, just totally amazing. So that's one of. I mean, there were lots of heroes on this show, and I could probably spend a couple hours going over what Tina Huerta did, what David. I always pronounce his name wrong. Pathemabong, I think it is. Did what so many other amazing people who worked on the show.
Our script
Oh,
gal.
Heather, yeah, Heather DePietro, yeah, she's
Heather. I don't know what we would have done.
U of A student came on to the set. There were a number of really great production assistants who came on to get experience from the U of A, and she actually became our script supervisor after a day when everybody had finals, and we were doing another long blankety blank day in the summer, outdoors, 16 hours. 100 and some odd degree weather, dying out there, tiny little crew because most people couldn't make it for a variety of reasons. And Heather, like everybody else, had finals, and she refused to leave the set.
Yeah.
So after that, we promoted her, and she stuck with us to the bitter end. So that was really good. And I mean, we had a lot of other wonderful production assistants on the show who did great work. And you can see, incidentally, I mean, we don't have time to go into every person who worked on the show during this show, but on our webpage, check out our cast and crew links. We're slowly uploading all the bios and headshots from everybody, but we want to make sure that everybody who had any part in working on this show is visible, that everybody knows who did what. So we're a little bit behind on getting all those uploaded, and as we're getting stuff from people, it takes a while to get their bios written and so on. But check back, and you'll see more about the amazing people who worked on this thing and helped make it a reality. Yeah.
How many locations were there?
Ooh,
there's
God.
a lot, right?
Yeah, there were a ton. I don't even remember. There was
most shoots you'd probably have maybe a dozen locations at the most, but you guys probably had well over 30, 40.
I don't even remember anymore. I can tell you that like some of the things you won't be able to tell, hopefully, is so our primary location is the interrogation room. When we walk out into the hallways, completely different location.
You'd never know.
Chief Killjoy's office, completely different location. That location, incidentally, doubled as Amanda Bella's house. And yeah, so but we had I've done. I'll have to go back and count it one of these days. But there were just a ton of different locations for a ton of different things, and a lot of really gracious people let us invade their homes, businesses, etc. to pull this puppy off.
So you can see why we skipped the big Revolutionary War sequence, because it was like, please, no more war scenes. We have this one.
There were several scenes that Marty and Cliff wrote, and I had to go back to them very sadly and say, there's just no way we can actually do this. And there was some great stuff. There was some great stuff.
Throw it out there and see what sticks.
The one that we were really disappointed about was the zombie episode.
Oh, how perfect timing!
We so wanted to do that, and the location. Most of it took place in the NSD sub-level 7 hallways.
So sad.
And unfortunately, we all wanted to do that so badly. It was a hysterical episode. And unfortunately, we had only 6 days to pull off everything in those hallways. And there was a lot of stuff.
You got to get the essentials
And
first,
so we had to get the essentials done. And the deal was that was actually filmed in Lockett Lockers down on Speedway. And so it was actually a big storage facility. With these incredibly awesome metal hallways, there was even what was it?
And outside it would be 110, and inside it was 115.
Yeah, exactly. It was tough in there, but we had exactly 6 days before they were scheduled to renovate.
Yeah,
we could not shoot after those 6 days because it wasn't going to look the same. So we had, unfortunately, to just cut out the zombie episode because we just barely got everything else done. We kept them late that night, let me tell you. So it was a shame. There's maybe someday, if the show does well enough, maybe we'll go back and shoot a couple of extra episodes and scenes you never saw.
What happened in between?
Yeah, there was some good stuff. And actually, we kind of someday we also hope to release a graphic novel where we might be able to tell some of the other stories and even more, some of the historicals that we just could not pull off, which are a little easier to do when somebody's just drawing it.
I'm amazed at the ones that did get pulled off, because we wrote some of those and gave them and said they're going to look at that and go, we're not doing that, guys. And you did them.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen them, but it's just, wow. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and I got to thank you for writing episode 4.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it came out good, I thought.
Rob's special episode.
My very favorite special episode. And you'll all see why when you watch it.
It's awesome.
I was like, we need to write this episode. So it was kind of like a boss call there, like, write this, Marty.
But
please.
it was the challenge. It's like, okay, well, let's do this.
Well, and we just had like
Mr. Devers was intact. That was,
yes, we had a very simple concept for we want something kind of like this, but we really want something kind of like this. This is really special to Rob. And I remember we were on the phone and Marty and Cliff called and said, "We've got the episode. We've got the episode. You're going to love this." And boy, did we.
We wanted to make you dance in it originally.
Yeah, that's right. You did. That was the original. The original script did include that. Amanda and Mindy and David.
Yeah,
were all
exactly. It was going to be the 4 of us.
Yeah, it was. I don't recall exactly what my words were, but I think it might have been something like "Hell no."
It worked out though.
But it worked out.
Yeah. No, it worked out really well.
That particular episode, I was actually holding auditions on the side for dancers and whatnot.
It took a while to get the dancers.
Yeah, but that didn't happen. So I would find somebody, then all of a sudden they would not call me back or whatever. So we found a nice young lady.
Yeah, Amanda Vanderkellen. She was amazing.
She was great. She came in. We told her about it, and she came in. Her and I just got together and started doing choreography, which is actually my first dance choreography thing. And
I didn't know that.
Yes, that was my first. Yeah,
I would have guessed.
Yeah, you wouldn't know.
No.
So we got together. I was like, "This is what we're gonna do," and she's like, "Okay." And so we did it, and you'll see what we did in episode 4. It was just amazing to work with her.
Yeah, some really good stuff there. Some really good stuff. Yeah. One of the things that a lot of people, this community and anyone who's following our careers heard pretty much nothing about the show for 3 years, and that was my thing. I was really strict about nobody breathes a word about this. Everybody had to sign non-disclosure agreements. I wanted to make sure that when we finally launched the show, it was a big surprise, and it was very fresh in people's minds. So this was kind of interesting. One of the we were trying to get full hip hop dance groups, and one of them, Gabi actually went to this group and asked them to do this episode, and then I don't remember if it was you or her who handed them a non-disclosure agreement, and they just were terrified,
they
wouldn't sign it, and they wouldn't,
Yeah,
and they
me.
left, and they left. They didn't know what it was.
I've got to be able to talk about this with everybody right now.
I don't know what it was, but so it was. So it was really, it was astounding that we actually managed to find a dancer.
That was
who
a good
able to pull
idea
this
that you
off.
did that, and it was probably it took incredible patience, and you probably wanted to tell people about it from the rooftops daily, but you knew that people would get tired of it or think,
Oh, yeah.
that
Exactly.
old thing you've been talking about forever, and this way it was just like, surprise!
Boom, here you
it
go.
is. Are you still shooting these? They're done. What?
Well, and also, there's each episode we reveal a little bit more, and there's a lot of mystery in this show. So if people were talking about, well, today on the set we did this scene, by the time we were done shooting, everybody would know the whole series.
Yeah, that's true.
So if any of you guys who were involved in the show are out there watching this, shh. Jeez, I mean, talk about the show. Tell them about the show, but don't reveal plot secrets. Wait until the episodes are up. Yeah, exactly.
So my very good friend MJ, she's often the person. She's like my best buddy, and she always runs lines with me. So every so often she'd say, "So, what will you give me not to tell what's going on the show for the entire year and more?"
What'd you give her?
I took her out a lot.
Yeah?
I took her out a lot. Yeah.
Bribing her with food?
Yeah.
Like
Booze, food,
Booze, food.
Jewelry.
Jewelry.
Yeah, it was rough.
So what is the definition of a Zhonster? Did I say that?
Zhonster, yeah.
I saw that term for the first time a few weeks ago.
We have not yet launched this on the webpage because it's still being built out, but Zhonsters will be our special fan club for Zhon the Alien Interviews, and you'll be able to go online and sign up for the fan club, and you will get special emails about stuff. You'll get access to special contests. You will also be able to, Johnsters will be able to send questions into Zhon. Which
Ask
we
Zhon.
which we will answer in the videoed Ask Zhon segments soon to come.
I'll be at home going, they read my letter.
Exactly. So, but only Johnsters will be able to do that, and there'll be a variety of other things. There'll be some contests and
I've already written some letters, just a few.
just a few.
Letters or
You're
questions?
scaring me, Alida. and there's also we'll do like periodic drawings for some of the Zhon merchandise because we've got all sorts of T-shirts and mugs and all and
thongs.
Yes, we do actually have. When we did the public screening of some episodes the other night for charity, for the Boys and Girls Club, I did announce to the audience that yes, you can go online. And you can buy a thong, a women's underwear thong that says,
I'm going to write a new
"It's
song
time you knew the
about
truth."
Yeah. I'm calling it "You Never Knew About the Thong."
You never knew about the thong. Yeah. We could write a whole thong about that if we had a lisp. This is my thong. This is my thong. No one could sing it. Yeah, so anyway, there's the Johnsters will be coming soon. The name Johnsters, by the way, was just something that our director of photography, Thomas Castillo, came up with. He started calling us all Johnsters, so we thought it would stick.
Nice. I don't remember the episode about the thong. Was that?
Oh, there's nothing in an episode about the thong. It's just
should have wrote that one.
I was wearing one the whole time we were shooting. Just
yeah, thank you for sharing that, Rob.
Super,
You did actually
He
say that
invented the
once
thong
when
by
we were on the
accident.
set, and I couldn't.
I invented the thong. It was a slingshot at one point. I was like,
It's a bonus story tonight.
I didn't have a loincloth, so I just put it on. And
that's part of the point of the historical flashbacks is that Zhon keeps claiming that he has altered human history in one way or another, and of course throughout the series we're trying to figure out what's true and what's not about that. So,
let's
there's
look
some
at
pretty
that
cool
trailer
stuff.
one more time before
Okay.
we get out of here tonight, and then we'll be back to wrap it up.
can I help you, sir?
My name is Zhon Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, and I am an alien.
The alien is in deep lockdown in sublevel 7 and will remain there until further notice. Here's a list of questions. We need him to answer them.
I turned around and he was gone.
So he escaped. And then he came back. Zhon is being difficult. He will not give us the answer we want. The alien will only be interviewed by her.
Join us Friday for another Bella Talk Show. Ciao.
Hi, I'm Zhon Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
Great. I'm Amanda. I'll be interviewing you.
You're just going to have to trust me.
He tells the most ridiculous stories you've ever heard.
You lost a servant boy?
So you invented beatbox?
That's why all the girls want to be in my ride.
Funny how you always seem to be just in the right place at the right time.
I guess that's what happens when you're 2,642 years old.
Run! Run! Rome is on fire!
Okay, David. This is a big story. The biggest. Get it?
It's gonna take a while to get to the juicy stuff.
Answer, John, not stories!
You're supposed to be an investigative reporter, and you're buying into this crap.
He was in Rome 2,000 years ago.
Hey, who threw that?
What had happened was...
Hey, come back here!
I don't want what did or didn't happen last night to affect anything going on here.
Well, what were you doing on a date with Amanda Bella?
I kissed her.
I really do apologize for...
So what happens if he doesn't talk?
Remember, you are replaceable. Get me Agent Myers.
Bamboo under the fingernails.
Do you know what this is?
Hey, are you listening to me? John, you don't want to do this.
It's time you knew the truth. If it leaks, it's not only your ass.
Mindy?
I need to get out of here. There is truth to all my stories.